Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Jenny. I'm here today to share a flip through of this gigantic, squishy, granny chic, shabby chic, cottage style, patchwork quilted style, you name it. I feel like this one can fall under a lot of categories, right? So yeah, I just wanted to share the inside with y'all. I started a collection of these back in January. It is now April. This is only the second one I finished. I have done other projects in between, but these have taken a lot longer than I anticipated. I did sell, there was one that was a more neutral colored. I had someone reserve it right from the get-go, so I worked on it, obviously, immediately, but then I just took my time with this one. This one has not sold as of yet. I haven't checked my Instagram today, so we will see, but if you are interested, I will put my email below, and then I will put my Instagram below. You can send me a DM. If it has sold, it will either just not say anything, or it will say sold beside the title. I will put available if you're watching it and it's available. I mean, like, that sounds so silly, but that I'm even having to think that out of my head. That's funny. So the next three that I will do, I'm not sure that I'm going to do these immediately, but the next three, this style, that I will do when I get to them. I will show you the covers really quick, and if you are interested in reserving one of those, feel free to contact me, and I will get on it and do it now. But I'm not sure if I'm going to go right into them or work on something else until I'm ready to sell them. That's what I'm trying to say. So we have this one. This is a little bit, well, quite a bit larger than a traveler's notebook size. Once I put the insides in, the spine's a couple inches. This one, and then this one. I haven't even put the inside fabric in these yet. And then the purple and blues. And I think I'll add another little doily, little bitty doily right there on top of that one. I couldn't decide on this if I wanted to leave this gray or put a little white doily, like a little bitty one right here. And I may actually do that when I finish the flip through. I'm not sure yet. I'm curious what y'all think. So I have had I had someone ask me a few months back now what I include in my junk journal add-on kits, or like, okay, so I do sell add-on kits when you purchase a journal. If you purchase one of this size and style, it's going to be a little pricier. But I have super vintage things in here. It took a lot of time, you know the drill. So I just go ahead and include, a good pack of things with this one. And I will share with you at the end of the flip through what those things are for this particular journal. Obviously, it just varies. Sometimes all the time, I try to think like, if you spent your last dime on this journal and you could not buy any supplies for a year, like, what would you want that you would not have to go to the store and buy anything to play in your journal? That's kind of the thought process that I use. So anyways, I will share that at the end, but just in case you're interested, so what I do is I give you option number 1. So that's free. I'm not that crafty, but I would love a few things to play with inside my journal. And then option number 2 is $10. I enjoy being creative and would love a few extra hand-picked items from you to use inside my journal. And then option number 3 is $18. And I'm a very crafty person, and I would absolutely love some extra fabric pieces, trims, and papers to make my own journal with to gift or sell. That is how I do my add-on packs. And again, I mean, honestly, the free is plenty to play with, but I like giving that option because, I don't know, it's almost like I sell you a super fun kit, if you will, along with your journal, you know, for 20 bucks. I feel like that helps us both out to replace my supplies and then gives you some fun things if you like making journals yourself. So I will share at the end again what I included for free with this journal. So yeah, I'm just gonna get into this. Again, this turned out super junky. And like 8 or 9 years ago when I used to watch junk journal flip throughs, I would always giggle like, how can they not remember the measurements, you know? But you know what? I never remember. I literally always forget. So the papers did end up being, this is a hidden spine. And so by the time I put the spine in, the papers ended up being just a teeny bit, not enough to really matter, but it was enough to bug me. Just a teeny bit, maybe a fourth to a half inch over on the inside. So I went back and added some trims to kind of offset the eye. Again, it's not hurting anything when you close it, but it was just bugging me, and I had put way too much work into this to not fix it somehow. So I added on these trims. And okay, so 6.5 inches from just the front cover, but if we're going to go all the way from the middle of the signature to the end of the papers, it's 7.5 inches, about 8 inches to the end of the fabrics and trims. And then 9 inches tall. And then, y'all, this is craziness. This spine is 3 inches, about 3.5 if you let it kind of fall open. So again, this is a gigantic journal. I feel like this could last you a few years, or maybe just one whole year if you do journal a whole bunch. So I just closed it with just some white cotton lace, and then I wanted to put a vintage brooch on each one. I love collecting these. I'll just buy like one or two occasionally if I see them at an estate sale. And ever since I started making journals, I've always collected these up because I wanted to do this on some of my journals, so it's fun to get to use. I feel like a cottage style journal is the perfect one to use a pretty little pen on. So let's just take a look at the cover. So I started out with the base of a fabric that was it was already kind of patchworked, you know. This was it. But see, it kind of blends so much that it just looks like I patchworked it. But this was already like this. And then just layered up different fabrics and trims and little doily pieces. Pulled out my vintage linens. I love the spine of this one. Some trim here. This beautiful basket with the flowers. These were heavily inspired by Johanna back in January when she had posted her personal handmade junk journal. And then she shared a video actually of how she made it. And so, or made the cover. And so I loosely followed that tutorial. And then it was way larger than I expected by the time it turned out. So I kind of loosely followed some of Amity Bloom's everyday journal, like videos that people had shared as far as like piecing papers together and stuff. So I will link those two channels below. I will link any, if I used any printables in here. I used several different printables, but just here and there. So I will link them below if I used any printables from someone. So getting into the inside cover, y'all, this is this is probably a long one, and you're already like, oh my goodness, girl, get to the point. Look at this. Look at how pretty. Just, I love how it just falls down when you do the spine, this soft, rounded spine like that. So I just put a little clear pocket here, and like I said, I just wanted to use a lot of my vintage things. So this was a vintage greeting card. I used a paper pad or two from Hobby Lobby. I love this paper pad for the Granny Chic style. Just altered some large book pages. This is from a book I just recently hauled. I don't know if the video's up yet, but I got in an estate sale last week. The cutest little book called Little Lamb's Hat. So this is a picture of this little girl holding Little Lamb. Well, I don't know if that's Little Lamb's hat. She's holding a hat, but how cute and how perfect is that? So I just made those into large journaling cards. This is from a Helen Steiner Rice poetry book. This paper is hand dyed, black bean dyed by my friend at Gingy's Journey. I love those blues. This is from a Granny Chic book. I also want to include a vintage postcard in each one. I think these were from a lot I had bought several years ago from it was like 1890s, I believe. Lots of stitching, lots of trims. An Ideals book page, and y'all look, see, I forgot to put something in the pocket here. I'm actually going to put that down in there. Some vintage ledger. And then I also wanted to include a vintage seed packet in each of these cottage journals. This is from a vintage, I think it was like a folk art painting book. And then I put just some little flowers on the center of each signature. I used to do this a lot when I was doing the Cheaply Chic collections, but we'd put the little hearts on the, the strings. But recently I was watching Meg at Chasing Retro do her spring flip-throughs, and I was like, why don't I ever think of doing that now? So I just punched some little flowers and did that. I made lots of fabric tags for this journal. This is also a pocket on this side. Avocado dyed paper. This is from like a cozy cottage. I've got paper scraps from my punches. This is from a cottage style. I think it was Better Homes and Gardens book. So I just left that there if you want to read it. Black bean dyed paper. This is kind of where I pieced the papers together, inspired by the Everyday Journal, just kind of mismatchy. Just put a little tag. And then I cut that right there to make it look kind of like you could hide something there, maybe smaller, and then, you know what I'm trying to say. Little pocket on the back. And then I stamped I am seen and loved here, and used a book page from Beatrix Potter book, made a little journaling card. If you watch me, I make a lot of prayer journals. Not all of them obviously have scripture or anything in them. This does not, but I like including something, and if you ever order a journal from me and it's not like faith-based and you want scriptures stamped on fabric or paper to include in your journal, I'm happy to include that in your package so you can put it throughout. Or if you reserve a journal and I haven't worked on it yet, I'm happy to include those if you just request that. So there's some Maggie Holmes paper, some vintage wallpaper. Love this. And I couldn't decide which side to use of this little Peter Rabbit book, so I just inked up the edges, and I thought you could, you know, cut it down and use it for a little tuck spot, or back it and use it as a journaling card. Here's some more vintage wallpaper, little sticker, another little Peter Rabbit journaling card, and this is from a printable. And the printables I did use, they're mostly from either Raindrop Lila, In Faith Inspirations. They're both on Instagram and YouTube, I believe. And then sometimes Amity Bloom. Here's a vintage cross stitch book page with the blues and the pinks. This is from a really fun book I got at Goodwill a couple months ago. It's like a really large book, so it was perfect for pages in here. I did have to, this book's really large, so I did have to hinge most of the pages to fit. I think it was like a grandmother or mother's book to your child or grandchild. This was just one of the pages. I love the thickness and the color of it. This is from a vintage Reader's Digest music book. And I used this adorable little fabric from Walmart with the little ducks. A few of these little sticky notes. A little vintage, well, I guess it's vintage, I don't know, little paper bingo sheet. And then I made little shaker bookmarks. Or you could put a little photo on the back, journal on top of this, whatever you want to use it as. But little Thomas Kincaid cottage sticker. This could be a little tuck spot right here. This is from an Ideals book page. Here in the center. I love in these cottage books doing like the old bedside tables. Some green stamps and a little notepad sheet. Stenciling, some very old tatting, I think that's called. Trim. Just put some little stickers. A little Raindrop Lila Polaroid. I just love stapling those. It's kind of grunged up. Another little note, couple note sheets, and then a Tim Holtz flashcard. This is a vintage butter label. I had gotten some vintage labels a few times back years ago from Crafty Lisa's Vintage over on Instagram. And I'm thinking I put a wine label in here too. I can't remember now. So here's some more vintage wallpaper. And then I had gotten a whole box of these like little note papers, letterhead type papers, and she had already stuck all the little stamps down. And yes, it smells older, so if you don't like that, you probably need to take it out of the journal. It's not scenting up the journal, but it definitely has that powdery, you know, it's kind of scent. This is just a piece of a doily. Some really old yellowed lined paper. Some more vintage wallpaper. And then I just put one of these giant little paper tags. And then this fabric tag. And then I had cut some little butterflies out from some fabric and just layered that up there. This was from like a cupcake and cake baking book. I think this was from a Richard Scarry like seasonal book. And so I just went ahead and kind of decorated this up as if it were my journal, because I know that some of us, you know, kind of get intimidated when you order a new journal and you're like, I don't know what to do with these pages. I mean, they're pretty just left there, but if you want to glue photos on top. Like, it's okay to just glue the things down on top and just keep the little images. So I just glued a little die cut here, a little, one of these little Tim Holtz die cuts here with a card and some little, just some little ephemera pieces. Printable. This looks real, but it's actually a printable. Super fun, from the 40s or 50s little needlepoint book I have some of, and then an Ideals book page in the center. The little geese, the little blue bow geese playing cards, and another one of these gorgeous little printable tags. I had one little piece of this little geese border. I was going to use this in the baby journal I just posted, but I guess I forgot about it because I found it, well, obviously I did. I found it laying to the side, and I was like, my goodness, I forgot to put that in there. This is a printable of an old letter, and then this is actually a vintage receipt for a bread store. I believe from the 50s. I had ordered this with a lot of vintage ephemera. Again, I think that usually it's Crafty Lisa's Vintage when I order things like that. And then here's another side of this little Richard Scarry book. That's so pretty. I could not cover that up. Oh, that's just so pretty. Just screams spring and summer, right? Then the other side of the cupcake page. Another large journaling card. I just turned, or book page I turned into journaling card. And on the back here, we have a fabric tag and another little Polaroid printable. Does it bother y'all that I changed up the stitching? Some of it's black and some of it's light blue. Vintage playing card, and then I just stuck some fun little labels and a little vocabulary card right there. I do highly suggest what I do when I get journals that are really big. Well, I don't feel like I've ever ordered a journal this big, but when I get a journal that's really stuffed, I like going through and just taking out all the ephemera pieces, putting them in a little basket, and then of course it flattens down, and then you can expand it as you desire. I actually filmed a video creating these. I don't think it's up yet, but I just altered some index cards and put little acetate windows. Use this embossed paper to make these little journaling cards. Maggie Holmes paper. Here I just used, okay, so I forgot what I did right here, y'all. I didn't even put anything in this either. But I used this pretty little die cut that I had gotten in some friend mail, and it says The Secret Garden, and so I just glued that down. I stitched some pretty lace over the top, put a little bit of handmade paper here. I need to put a tag. I need to put a tag actually right here, so I'll just set that like that. And then I just glued down this little bitty note card envelope, and I stamped I'm Seen and Loved right there. Put a fun waxed seal. I had gotten some of these things from some friend mail from Lynette, so I wanted to include some of them in here. And then put a little butterfly sticker, and then I just stamped some little flowers on there. Some more embossed paper. This is from an old cookbook about desserts. Sheet of vellum. Another Granny Chic book page. some really fun wallpaper. This is actually the center of this signature. And this was the perfect journal to use these little cottagey looking die cuts from Hobby Lobby in. So I just included a few of those. And then I don't know how these stickers got in there, but they did. And then I just included some recipe cards. These are so cute. They're from Dollar General, actually. Granny Chic book. Some fun lavender grid paper. Love this beautiful strawberry cake image. And then I wanted to include like a pattern cover in each one of the cottage journals, so I felt like this one matched the best. And it was already like ripped and torn, so what I did was just kind of cut around and just left it looking, you know, rough like that. I love that. So I'll just fold that up on purpose. And then I just attached with a brad a little piece of this lace. Put a little washi there. Put a little piece of the what's it called? The tracing paper. I can't think of it. Pattern paper on the back, and then glue down this little already used little vintage button card. So I thought those would be fun in a cottage style journal. Love this paper pad from Hobby Lobby. It is textured. It feels kind of like old wallpaper. Love the lemons and the blues. Belly band here. I had made a whole bunch of these. I know I did an Instagram reel, maybe a YouTube Shorts, I'm not sure. Back in January, I think it was for Junk Journal January, but I just wanted to alter these vintage envelopes and use them somehow, so I just made them into little pockets, little window pockets with, it's got the little Rolodex card image there, and then used these little floral book page pieces here, and then just stuck some things, fun things down in the pocket, including like a little vintage flower card. So that just stays right there. Uh-oh, there's some blank white space, y'all. I'm gonna ignore it today. This is some fun gift wrap I have. These were a printable gifted to me, and then just a little frame and some fun note paper. And I just tucked it inside here so you can move around how you like. Granny Chic book page. Some beautiful trim. This is actually from Hobby Lobby. It's so pretty with a little pink rickrack. A sheet from a sewing book. I think it was like how to sew children's clothing. So the center of this signature, uh-oh, my little flower got stuck. It got stuck on the embroidery thread. So I just put this beautiful piece of like linen, embroidered linen. I just stitched the top down to make like two little pockets here. And then I wanted to include this adorable little bunny and strawberry note paper. So cute. And this journal lays beautifully, y'all, to actually journal in. I mean, even with all the stuff in here, it lays so good. A piece of a linen tea towel, and then I just put a little bit of this embossed paper, some more vintage wallpaper, just put a couple little poems and a guest check. And again, I love kind of layering it where the papers fall. You know, it's mismatchy patterns, but it somehow blends. Just altered some envelopes and stuck a few little die cuts down in here. I think this was from that Cottage Style magazine. Look how pretty that quilt is. That whole page is so pretty. Look, she's having tea, or making it look like she's having tea. Here's a fun piece of wallpaper. A little ruffle. Maggie Holmes paper. This is some fun old gift wrap. And then here's the center of this page. The little deer's so cute. This was a vintage butter wrapper, like the waxed paper. So I thought that would be fun in here. And then I wanted to put a little coffee sleeve in here. My daughter had these by her little coffee station. So I was like, oh my goodness, that blue is perfect. So I love altering these into little Happy Meal things. This would be one of the bulky things you could take out. But I just put an eyelet in the corner. Just put a little key on here. And then just put some fun little tags. And stuff in there. I made these for Valentine's Day for some friend mail, and I don't know, I just thought that was fun. A fun way to gift some little tags. And whoever receives this book, you're welcome to go in and add a piece of trim right here. But I liked that rough edge, so I just left it. So, yeah, that is the end of this flip through, y'all. So I'm going to share now the freebies that will come with it. So getting into those. So this would be like the larger little pack of the mix. Again, since that's a larger, nicer journal, I just decided to include this whole work basket book. It has amazing images, all the vintage fun things we love to cut up. So I included that. 5 of these little floral book page. I can't think of what, that little library card. I can't think of what they're called, but I put the pink shades. Just a heads up, this is not the flower that's on the other side because the book opens this way, so it would be the image across from it, but those are fun to alter. A piece of this beautiful green and pink fabric, and then a piece of the quilted fabric that I used for the base. I mean, you can make you a couple journals, I feel like, out of smaller type journals, or patchwork you a large journal. Here's a little piece of a vintage sheet. Some time cards. A couple more little sheets of writing notepads. A piece of this beautiful peel and stick drawer liner. Oh, love this. Haven't done anything with the roll I found yet, but I love this so much. A piece of this gift wrap. A couple book pages from a Rose book. And then I just put some fun pages, embroidery type pages. These are fun to cut up. Like maybe you don't have access to printables, or you just don't want to fool with them. These can be cut up and used just like a printable. So cute. These little ducks. I felt like this had to go in here for this one. I mean, look at the blues and the pinks. It just had to go in this one. Again, these are so fun to use just like a printable. Some gardening book pages from a Vintage Reader's Digest gardening book. And then I put a coffee dyed sheet of paper, a blue sheet of paper, and an avocado dyed sheet of paper. And then I included in this little pack, I just made like a fun swatch book of all these different wallpaper samples or pieces cut from wallpaper that you can just rip off and use accordingly. Scraps, that's what I'm trying to say, wallpaper scraps. I just stitched down the top. So you can put this inside the journal and just tear it off as you want it or keep it separate. A little piece of cheesecloth because, again, I try to put things that when I first started journaling that I'm like, man, and I see people creating something and I'm like, well, I don't have any of that here, you know? So put a little piece of this fun velvet and satin trim, some little blue lace, blue rickrack, a couple pieces of Chanel yarn, a little piece of this pink and white plaid trim, a little heart dolly that's kind of aged looking. I got these at an estate sale. I got these at a thrift store a few weeks ago. They're just embossed. I thought these are so pretty. This is just a fun little random mindless craft I did the other day, and you can glue this down and use it as a little tuck spot. I didn't end up putting it in the journal. Here's some little piece of pattern paper, and then 3 napkins that you can use to decoupage or make all the little fun things with. And then lastly, all the little fun things that, again, you may not want to order a whole ton of, which now we have Temu, you know, so there's that. But, you know, back a few years ago, you know, you would have to order, like, you still get a ton, but I don't know. These are just little things I like getting. So some tickets, some die cuts, and little vellum and acetate stickers, labels, little fun tags, more tickets, some of these little, from Dollar Tree, the little wax seals, some Rolodex cards, and then see just some little bits like charms, and oh, I still need to put a couple bulb pins in here, but a couple little safety pins, some buttons, some little flowers, just fun little bits that you can use in your journal. So again, thank y'all so much for coming along. I hope this inspired you, or yeah, just I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.